It's Sunday, it's day 7, let's break it down. In Genesis chapter 16, verses 1 through 4, we are told that Sarai had a maidservant named Hagar. In the ancient world, a maidservant or bondwoman wasn't viewed the same way we would view a household worker today. She was legally considered a kind of property and extension of her mistress. That meant Sarai had full authority over Hagar, not only to assign household work, but also, according to customs of the time, to use her in a much more personal and significant way as a surrogate to bear a child on her behalf. Sarai was unable to have children, and in that culture, barrenness was seen as a deep personal tragedy and even a shame. Having children was not just about family, it was about survival, inheritance, and the continuation of one's name and one's legacy. And since Sarai could not have children herself, she followed a socially acceptable and legal custom of that time. She gave her maidservant to Abram so that Hagar could become pregnant and bear a child that would legally belong to Sarai. This arrangement may sound strange or abnormal to us today, even morally wrong to the modern reader, but in the ancient Near East, it was actually a part of an accepted contractual practice for barrenness. When a woman was unable to bear children, she could provide a servant girl, sometimes called a concubine, to her husband. A concubine did not have the same status or rights as a wife. She usually came into the relationship without a dowry and with a specific role: to bear children. If she gave birth, that child could be claimed as a legal child of the mistress. Moving on to Genesis chapter 17 and verse 4. Verse 4 points to something so unique in history. For once, God makes a covenant with a human being. In the ancient world, people made covenants with each other all the time, especially kings and nations. There were also stories of gods demanding obedience or promising blessing, but there is no true parallel to what we see here. A holy and all-powerful God voluntarily entering into a binding relationship with a mere mortal. Usually in other cultures, a king would claim he built a temple or offered sacrifices, and then he would say that God rewarded him. But that kind of relationship was built on human initiative. In Genesis chapter 17, however, it is God who initiates the covenant, not because Abraham earned it, but because it was part of God's divine purpose and plan. This shows us that the God of the Bible is not distant, he's not detached, he is personal, he speaks, he commits himself, he binds his promises to his people, not because he has to, but because he chooses to. Lastly, in Matthew chapter 6, verses 5 through 6, Jesus is talking about prayer, but he makes it very clear that the problem is not public prayer itself. Praying where others can see you is not the issue and is not automatically wrong. What Jesus is correcting is the motive behind the prayer. Apparently, some people in his day were using prayer as a way to impress others. They wanted to be seen as spiritual, as holy, or important, and their prayers were not really directed towards God. They were directed toward the people watching and listening. They were using prayer as a performance. Jesus says that when prayer becomes a show for other people, the person has already received the only reward they were looking for: human attention. In Jewish life, it was actually normal for people to pray in public settings like the synagogue. It is not even completely clear whether everyone in a synagogue prayed together out loud at the same time in Jesus' day. In many cases, people prayed individually, but in a shared space. So again, Jesus is not condemning the location of prayer. He is addressing the heart behind it. Jesus then says to go into your chamber or secret place and shut the door. What's a chamber? Well, most homes at that time were very small. They didn't have private bedrooms like modern houses do. And the only room that usually did have a door was a storeroom. That means Jesus is basically telling them to go somewhere no one else will see them and pray to God privately. The point is not the room itself. The point is that prayer is meant to be between you and God, not you and an audience. He also mentions standing to pray, which was very common in that culture. Standing, lifting hands, looking upward were all normal postures for prayer. And there was nothing wrong with the posture. Once again, it was all about the motive of the heart. Thanks for joining me today on day 7. I hope to see you again tomorrow on day 8. God bless. Hey, if you like what you're listening to and watching right now, please subscribe on YouTube at The Faith Talks Pod or on Instagram at The Faith Talks Pod, or you can follow me on Spotify and Apple Podcast at Faith Talks. Every like, every comment, every share, and every subscriber helps to promote this page, this channel, and this podcast so we can get the word of God out to all those who will listen.